Hi, it's Norman Kochnick here for Extra Time. Coming to you from a very chilly Sydney, Australia at the moment. I'm surprised we're quite on the chilly side, which is not what I would have expected. We have some lovely esteemed guests, and perhaps not some so esteemed guests. I'm only joking. We've got a lovely Brad Hogg, former Australian cricketer as well as a former KKR player, all the way from Western Australia, the losing state in the one-day domestic final here only today, in fact. Or depending on what time of day, it may well be yesterday. Welcome, Brad.
Thanks very much, Norman, and thanks for putting me on the back foot straight away. So the Fremantle Dockers, which is the AFL football team, had a win this afternoon, so I'm a little happier, and it will really make my day and finish it off really well if KKR win tonight over the Sunrisers Hyderabad, especially beating the New South Welshman David Warner. I'm looking forward to it tonight. Right.
Did Fremantle play down at 12s, or who did they play? I'm not sure. I didn't see the result.
No, I can't remember who they played actually. It was a good win, but they Hawthorn, that's right, my old team Hawthorn. Yeah, Hawthorn. Okay. So it was a close game. They were well in front out the start, but so they were probably in front by about 30, 40 points out quarter time, and then Hawthorn fought back for the next two quarters, and they just got over the line at the end. So yeah, it's a good win, tight win, but hopefully it's not as tight tonight for Kolkata Knight Riders.
Well, that's your moment of glory then for WA for today. That's great. Okay.
Yep. You keep celebrating that.
Nikhil Nas joining us from ESPN once again from Ahmedabad. I'm not sure why he's still there. I thought he would have travelled by now, but no, he hasn't. How are you, Nikhil?
All well, Norman. Lovely to see you once again. Yeah, I'm just here making sure all the preparations are on track for the playoffs, so everything is ready, the bio bubble secure and everything. So I'm at the largest stadium in the world, right behind me.
And of course, you're expecting Delhi Capitals to be there.
They've beaten the MCG, mind you.
Oh, here we go. Beating MCG. I mean, you may have beaten the MCG. Lords is certainly still number one, but the Sydney Cricket Ground, oh my heavens, what a ground. You can't beat that.
I love it.
You can put every brand new stadium you want to, but you still have that lovely old age style. We have one more gentleman to introduce, and that is a man who is from, there needs no introduction. Anyone from the Burrard Army, in my opinion, needs no introduction. They've got a loud voice, as always. And we have, and I'm just going to confirm, got some blurring going on. Would you like to introduce yourself? Because I'm unable to confirm your name again.
Yeah. Hi, guys. Dinesh, correct. So I'm Dinesh. I'm from Madurai, Tamil Nadu, down south of India. So I'm just passionate about the game of cricket. I've been watching cricket for the last 20 years. I've been witnessing IPL for the last 13 years. So glad to be part of this panel where I can discuss great cricket brains. Looking forward for it.
So Dinesh, do you go for the Chennai Super Kings? I'm hoping.
No, I'm actually someone who supports Rajasthan Royals. So in that regards, I have a close relation with Brad Hogg. So
got the old Royals jumper in the back here, Dennis.
Yeah. There you go, Brad.
Yep.
So I'm a big supporter of Rajasthan Royals.
Yeah, sorry, Norman. TNPL, who's your team down there for TNPL, the Tamil Nadu League? Because I absolutely enjoyed my time going to the country areas down there in Tamil Nadu. The people were fantastic. They were friendly. They were giving me all the local food, and I just had a whale of a time, and the cricket was sensational. And there's a lot of Tamil Nadu players actually playing in the IPL for various teams, which is good that tournament is producing so many good cricketers. So who do you go for in the TNPL?
Rajasthan Royals in this IPL. In TNPL, it's Dindigul Dragons and the Madurai team.
Oh, rightio, the Dindigul Dragons. Who's your favourite player in the IPL from the Tamil Nadu League?
From Tamil Nadu, it's Ravichandran Ashwin.
Yeah. And what about one of the youngsters that are coming through?
Varun Chakravarti. and
Yep.
Natarajan as well.
Yeah. Oh, right, Nat Rajan. He has been sensational. Back to you, Norman. I couldn't help that because
That's fine.
I've just really enjoyed my time down at Tamil Nadu. Such a fantastic tournament too, and it's really it's been really a good breeding ground for young Indian players coming through, playing in the IPL and internationally as well.
I'm not surprised. Tamil Nadu is a very big state in itself. It has the best curries, I have to argue, in India, but I'm a little biased. But I believe that that's a great breeding ground, as you said. Dinesh, while you're not talking, go on mute, because I think you've got a bit of echo on your end, Dinesh. Be wary of that. All right. So we've got an amazing game today, which is obviously between KKR and the Sunrisers Hyderabad. Both teams, I believe, have an element. I've been using the word, Brad, and Nikhil knows, I've been using the word hunger. Teams seem to have more hunger than other teams. I believe the likes of Delhi Capitals have got that hunger to win. KKR and certainly Sunrisers Hyderabad have got that similar hunger. It stands out. Mumbai Indians certainly are the best on paper, but I don't know whether they've got the same level of hunger. And we'll see how that pans out through the tournament. I'm obviously, Brad, just to let you know, I'm very partial to KKR, but Nikhil and I, we're both Delhi Capitals fans now, aren't we? We're both expecting them to win. Even though Nikhil keeps showing his underdog for some reason. All right, Nikhil, I want your thoughts. You are a very learned man from ESPN. I want your take on today's match.
Close encounter, I'd have to say. Both teams are very evenly matched on paper. It's interesting that they'll be playing in Chennai, so we'll just wait and see how the bowlers from both teams perform. I think the one thing, apart from these two teams being very competitive, and I think both of them might just make the playoffs, the other interesting thing, and that's very common, that common thread that runs between these two teams is the fact that they'll struggle to put in those 4 foreigners into their team because they've got plenty of options. There's for choices when it comes to that. I'm just taking a look at the Kolkata team, and they've got the likes of Eoin Morgan and Andre Russell, Pat Cummins, and then you've got Sunil Narine. So you'll have to really put some really worthy players, very good players, sitting on the bench. I mean, Lockie Ferguson had an outstanding IPL last season, but he's going to be struggling to make that playing 11. So I think they have a problem of plenty, Kolkata Knight Riders. Similarly with Hyderabad as well. Again, for 4 foreigners, there's going to be a close fight. I'm going to make a big call here. I think going forward in this IPL, I think Hyderabad may want to consider having David Warner as skipper, and that's got nothing to do with his ability as a skipper, but I think it will be a sort of a conundrum they'll find themselves in because of the 4 foreigners that they have to fit in. Because they've got Johnny Bairstow, they've got Jason Roy, they've got a David Warner, then the one man that you have to put, whose name is first probably on the list of all players once you're deciding your 11, is Rashid Khan, so you can't leave him out as well. So they will really have to find that correct balance, and going forward, form is going to be very important. And in case David Warner, we know he's coming off a niggle, in case he really can't up the ante, he could be that guy that you consider taking him onto the bench and then playing with both Bairstow and Jason Roy, who've been in good form in the recently concluded series. So the big call that I'm making is that going forward, they may reconsider David Warner as captain.
As always, Nikhil, you're bang on the number. As what happened last night, of course, Steve Smith was left out, which many people were surprised about. And obviously, you're suggesting Williamson will be left out today. Is that what you're suggesting?
Not today. So I'm saying today, if I was to select the team, I think you will go with a David Warner. You will go with a Rashid Khan. You'd have to. Luckily, they have good Indian fast bowlers. The other 2 slots are going to be very interesting. There's Kane Williamson there. He had a great IPL 2020. How is it that you don't fit him into the team? Jason Holder did a great job for them with the bat as well as with the ball. And considering how we've seen the Chennai pitch really helping those bowlers that cut pace, trying to bowl those slower deliveries, they've tended to do well in Chennai. So you'd want to put him in there. And if you go with that, that means you make 2 of the best white ball batsmen in world cricket at the moment. That's Johnny Bairstow and Jason Roy sit on the bench. So that's the embarrassment of riches that I was talking about with Hyderabad. So we'll have to see how it goes. For the moment, I think Jason Roy would be unlucky to be sitting on the bench. I think he will. And probably even Johnny Bairstow could be. Because if they go with Bairstow, they'll have to have someone like Holder sitting out. So I don't know which way they're going to go. But seems like it could be the two English batsmen that go on the bench.
So you're again, you've got insider knowledge there. You know too much. So I can't believe you dissect teams like they're none other. I can tell you that much. Brad, you and I, we're just mere mortals from Australia. We don't know much. We just basically have to listen to these incredibly intelligent Indian commentators. It's quite crazy.
Sorry, Norman, I'm going to interrupt you. I have to tell you, because I didn't mention it at the start of the program, I'm a huge fan of Brad Hogg's avatar with the blonde hair that he did on YouTube. And that went viral here in India. I absolutely loved it. I think he has an acting talent there. He should explore that a little more.
I think there's no doubt about that. I think Brad has he often acted when he was going for dismissals during his Australian career, didn't you, Brad? I'm not sure. No. All right. Oh, that was
He was mute, I think.
No. Brad, only you, Brad. We need your perspective, Brad. We need to get your take. Being ex-KKR.
Yeah, look, I think Nikhil has hit all points right on the nail on the head in both teams. But I think this year, I think Kolkata Knight Riders have actually recruited quite well. They got Ben Cutting in there to back up Andre Russell. Andre Russell is a big worry for me, and the worry that I have with KKR, and I've had that for the last 6 years, is trying to build their team around Andre Russell because of that big hitting out the end, and also they're expecting him to bowl well with the pace that he has, and he hasn't delivered last year, and I don't think he's delivered to the full potential over the last couple of years. So that is a big concern for me. But they've also got Shakib in there to back up Narayan. Good call, good backup, because you need that spinning all-rounder who can bat a bit. Obviously, I think Shakib can bat better than Narayan, but Narayan's probably a better option with the ball. But you've also got that issue with Narayan's action as well. So they're the two issues for me. I think they've got to play Morgan, or Morgan's obviously the captain. I think they've really got good middle order depth, but I'm still worried about their top order. And I think they might be exposed, or could be exposed, by Bhuvneshwar Kumar with his swing tonight. And but I still think Kolkata Knight Riders will win because they've got that experience in the middle order, and they've got good bowling depth, especially in the spin department. But when you're looking at Sunrisers Hyderabad, the big issue for them was Mitchell Marsh pulling out, because they need that big hitting all-rounder in the middle order. That's where they've been depleted. That's where they've been hamstrung, and they've really relied on the top order to make the runs, and they've really relied on Rashid getting wickets and keeping it tight in the middle overs, and the Indian bowlers standing up. So they've got good defence with their bowlers. They've got a good top order. But they're really going to struggle in that middle order. Who are they going to play there? Are they going to go with Holder, which I'd like them to do with the balance of the team, but then you've got Bairstow and Roy, who have to play because of their form of late for England against India, especially Bairstow. He's got to be in there. So for me, I think they'll go Vijay Shankar in the middle order and open with Warner and Bairstow out the top. And KKR in the field, whenever David Warner is slightly looked as though it's going to be half a chance of a run at that ball to his end and really put pressure on that groin, which is going to be a huge issue for Sunrisers Hyderabad throughout this tournament. That's absolutely a bit cheeky too, yeah. These things, if a player's going to play with a slight injury like David Warner's going into, he's got to expect that pressure being put on him, because he's going out there fully fit. He's going out there to play the opposition team who's going out there to give 100%. So you see that slight weakness, you try and expose it. So I think that KKR have got to be really switched on in the field.
I'll be getting to the teams later, and in particular, I wanted to talk about how in fact they're ranked in the top, the full 8 sides. We'll get to that a bit later, where they'll come into play. I think that'll be very important. I think both KKR and Sunrise Hyderabad are certainly going to feature in the top 4, or 4-5 at least. We'll see how they go. I wanted to bring up for Rad's here as well, and I think it's worth noting the actual one-day domestic final in Australia between New South Wales and WA featured a plethora of players that were either that will be here or that have actually dropped out. Like Jason Behrendorff will certainly be featuring when he turns up for the IPL. Obviously, Mitchell Marsh, who pulled out, was playing in the match. New South Wales had the likes of Stark, Hazelwood. Mitchell Marshall was also there, as I said. The reality is, it was intriguing to watch a match today where a lot of the players could well have been in the IPL, and that's a decision that intrigues me how they play first. It's a pity that Stark's not there, and certainly Hazelwood. And Mitchell Marshall's been a bit of a disappointment. Philippe was also playing. There's quite a few players that would normally have been a part of the IPL that played today. All right, back to today. Actually, I'll get your point about a bit later. I'd be interested to see. I'm impressed that Jason Behrendorff stayed to play the final. I'm impressed by that. He'll still be able to make it for the IPL, but he understood his role in that match. It was very integral to the match, even though WA didn't win. We might introduce Dinesh for a moment. If you'd like to say a few words, this being a representative from the Bharat Army, one of the most incredible Barmy Army style armies in the world. Quite frankly, they are everywhere. Everywhere I go, there's a Bharat Army member. We've got one here now. Tell us, Dinesh, what's your thoughts on today's match?
Turn yourself off mute too. Yep.
Yeah, thoughts on today's match, right?
Yep.
Okay. So today's match is going to be SRH and KKR, where the stats say out of 19 matches, KKR have actually won 12 of those, where SRH have managed to win only 7 of those. So that puts KKR as favorites, and they're actually having an upper hand in today's match. Having said that, the biggest problem that I would say that SRH is actually facing is a problem of plenty. They need to select, the best four overseas players for their playing 11, which is going to be tricky for today's match. And what kind of combination are they going with the overseas options? Are they going for 3 batting overseas player and 1 bowling overseas player? Or if it is going to be 2 bowling overseas player or 2 batting overseas player. So that's going to be a tricky circumstance that SRH will be facing today. Whereas when I look at KKR, the first 6 look to be a reliable batting lineup. But the biggest concern for KKR would be Morgan is actually out of form, is not in touch he is expected to be in. So it's going to be a battle between a team which is actually uncertain to pick which overseas playing for they're going with, and a KKR side which we know that is actually having a firepower in their batting lineup. So it's going to be a tight battle between SRH and KKR. And stats say that KKR have won 12, but I believe that SRH have got a good bowling strength in the name of Sandeep Sharma or Bhuvneshwar Kumar or Rashid Khan or Natarajan himself. They are going to be all guns blazing in today's match. So it's going to be a tight contest where I feel SRH will be actually pulling off successfully in this match. That's what I believe.
Thank you, Dinesh. Thank you very much. Now, I have enormous respect for KKR, as it truly is my team. I am a KKR fan, to be really honest. Although I do think Delhi Capitals will win the overall tournament. I was on the streets of Sydney, Brad and Nikhil, again today. I'm making a regular thing on my particular program about talking to Australians. I had an amazing couple, a Japanese lady and an Argentinian man, who actually had 2 IPL teams. One had Delhi Capitals, one had KKR, and they just got married, and they were fighting about who will win. It was magic. I couldn't have planned it any better. You should have been there. One of those things, you should have been there. All right, Nikhil.
Yeah, no, it's just interesting how the game of cricket is actually worldwide, and there are people that follow it in those type of nations as well. And we all know that America is the biggest or the second biggest viewership of cricket in the world. So the game is spreading. We've got to make sure we nurture it moving forward and make sure that we encourage these type of spectators to get involved with it and spread the word back in their country. So and on top of that, I just think when we've got Europe, the South Americas, the Asian teams here, I think that when we're playing the 50 over World Cups, the T20 World Cups, I think we could get an associate team of the best players from Europe in one team, the best players from South America in one team, and the best players from Asia that aren't frontline teams together. Just have those three teams to play in it, because those better cricketers are getting exposed to something that they've been striving for, which they won't be able to do with their weaker teams. And what that does, it gives them exposure, takes them back to their countries, and they can start delivering the experience that they've had at that higher level to the younger generation coming through, and hopefully that quickens the development in those other countries.
I concur outrageously. I have a lot to do with women's cricket, Brad, and the amount of people I see from Peru and Vanuatu that end up playing women's cricket is amazing. In fact, women's cricket's also growing at great knots in countries we least expect. So I concur totally, especially from the men's perspective. Nikhil.
Yeah, well, women's cricket's just as important.
Oh, absolutely. Nikhil, now, I want your perspective, in particular, around the choice of captaincy in each of the teams. Now, we've talked about a number of the teams already in our discussions earlier on. Captaincy of Warner, captaincy of Morgan are pivotal. Their roles as leaders, as well as their general play, are significant in these two teams. What's your take?
Interesting that you mentioned that, Norman. Just because coming on this show, just before that, I was doing a show with for ESPN with Sanjay Manjrekar, and this was one of our major points of discussion about captaincy. And both of us couldn't understand why is this sort of fascination with just having Indian captains. I understand that it's the Indian Premier League, but sometimes this obsession with having just Indian captains could just be the undoing of some teams. Why I say that? Because sometimes you've got really experienced captains in your team. And we were discussing about the game that's coming up tomorrow, in which you will have Sanju Samson captaining. And then you have someone like a Joss Butler in the team who's captained England recently in the series here. But you don't make him the captain, and you go with someone like Sanju, who's not very experienced in captaincy. And the other factor that we were discussing was the fact that you may captain in domestic cricket in India, where you have all of 10 people watching. But when you have to captain a side in the IPL, with the cameras, watching with, I know there are no crowds at the moment, but the kind of pressure that comes along with IPL games, it's a completely different ball game. So this whole fascination of going with an Indian captain, a young captain, may not be the ideal thing, because we've seen it in the IPL. A captain makes a huge difference, especially in a shorter format where decisions have to be taken very quickly. No wonder you've got Chennai being so successful. No wonder Rohit Sharma's Mumbai Indians do very well, because they've got good captains at their helm. So with that in mind, why would you want to have a captain who hasn't got a lot of experience? You rather go with someone, even if it's a foreign player. So take Delhi, for example. You've got Rishabh. Yeah, he started with on a winning note in the first game that he captained, but you have plenty of other options there in Ravichandran Ashwin. You've got Ajinkya Rahane, who many say is probably maybe the best captain, not to be officially the Indian captain. He's still the stand-in captain. I mean, you've got people like that. You got Steve Smith. He may not be captain of Australia at the moment, but we know how good a captain that he was. So you have many options. I agree that you look at what the playing 11 is like, and probably Smith is not playing every game, but Ashwin's going to be playing every match for Delhi. It seems like it. Could he be the guy you go with? So this fascination of young captains, I'm not too sure about that. With that in mind, I think both those teams have got good captains. Interestingly, this is the only clash that we'll see where you'll have two foreign captains going against each other, because out of the 8 teams, there are only 2 foreign captains, and that's David Warner and Eoin Morgan. Eoin Morgan, I'd say, as a captain, has completely not only transformed English cricket, but has transformed white ball cricket. He came up, I was reading a lot of articles, he's the one who's come up with this new sort of mantra that England go with, go bang bang from the start. It doesn't matter if you lose a lot of wickets, because you've got batting till number 10, so you got to keep attacking. This was Eoin Morgan's idea. He instilled belief in his players. He spoke to them individually. These are stories that I read after that victory in the 2019 World Cup. So I think he's a smart captain. He's someone who's changed the white ball format, as I mentioned. So for Kolkata to have him as a captain is very important. And I think that was one of the things that they were lacking. They changed, remember, captains midway. Dinesh Karthik captain at the start, and then they got Eoin Morgan to do it. It's never a good idea to change change captain midways, and that was their undoing in the season before that. I'll tell you why. If you remember, in the 2019 IPL, KKR had one of the best teams, and Andre Russell was on fire. But Andre Russell would come onto the press conference and openly defy what the captain had said a day before. So Dinesh Karthik would say one thing, Andre Russell would come and say, "Listen, I want to bat higher, but the captain doesn't want me to, so it's fine wherever they let me." So he would say things like that. So clearly there was a lot of friction, and whenever, as you know, in sport, when there's friction within a team, it's never good for the results that you see on the field. So those things have been sorted. I think Eoin Morgan's the right choice. You've gone with him. Even for Hyderabad, I think they made the good choice of going with David Warner. Just that, as I mentioned again, I keep harping on that fact, the embarrassment of riches that they have in their team, they'll have to find a way of how they, make that 11. I think what's going to be interesting, just quickly 2 points because Brad alluded to them. I think because they'll have those English players sitting out, Wriddhiman Saha could go in as an opener. He did that briefly last season and he did a very good job. So if you're not playing Bairstow and Jason Roy, he's your opener. And that lower middle order, that's been the Achilles heels, as Brad mentioned. I'll just point out on one name, watch out for him. We saw just a brief glimpse of him last season. A young kid called Abdul Samad. He comes from the northernmost state of India, Jammu and Kashmir. He played an outstanding knock, won the man of the match in last season. I think he was batting at number 6, got 51 of 30 odd deliveries. So he has that firepower. He can bowl a bit as well. So maybe they're looking at him to be the guy who gives you runs there. And mustn't forget, there's a batsman by the name of Kedar Jadhav, had a IPL to forget last season, but we know what he can do with the bat. So that hunger, that word you use, if there's anyone who's going to be very hungry to prove his detractors wrong, it's going to be Kedar Jadhav. Will that fire in the belly help the team itself? We'll just have to wait and watch.
Well, that's my word, Nikhil, for this whole series is hunger. Those that are hungriest, not only to make the side but to be a part of the eventual World Cup, is the key. We've got breaking news. You talked about one end of the scale where, say, a debutant comes from youth. We've got a debutant that's not actually youthful at all. Harbhajan Singh's been given his cap officially. So that's a rare thing to see. A very young Harbhajan Singh. What is he now?
Has he broken Brad's record? Has he broken Brad's record of being the oldest playing an IPL game? I don't know. How old was Brad when he played? I think Harbhajan officially is 40, but I'm guessing you got to add a year or two on that. Definitely. I mean, it's a common phenomenon in India. Your birth certificate has a few years short. So I don't know whether he's broken Brad's record. Brad, be able to tell us.
Tell us, Brad.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a clue. Yeah.
How old were you when you were called from your commentary stint to come and play the IPL games?
I was in my 40s, so I think it might have been 46. It could have been 47. Yeah, could have been 47. Yeah, I can't remember. But I played my last game just before my 48th birthday, I think.
Unbelievable.
But I didn't retire. But I just don't get any phone calls. I still want to play. I don't get any phone calls.
Never say never.
Never say never. Now, Nikhil, you brought up a very good point there.
Change your last name to Brad Eisenmunger. Then you'll get a go.
Yeah, that'd be good. 50. Didn't he play till 52? Yeah. Nikhil, you brought up a very good point about Andre Russell a couple of years ago in those press conferences. Yep. Now, that is a huge issue because you don't want that type of stuff in your organisation. And once those type of things start, it's very hard to rectify and very hard to get that team harmony back within your squad. And, that would still be playing on Kartik's mind, Dinish's mind, that's happened. And, a little bit tentative between those two in the dressing room. People will come out and say, yeah, they're fine, they're getting on, they've got over it. But, when you lose the captaincy and the person who's been the most outspoken is still there, didn't have a good year last year, those type of things do play on personnel within your team. So that's a big issue that KKR and the coaching staff have to get on top of very early in the piece this year. Because if Andre Russell doesn't have a good start, they've got Ben Cutting in the background and Andre won't be happy with that as well. So, they're going to have to monitor that attitude. I love Andre Russell, but we've all got a bit of a weakness here and there, and sometimes he just lets his emotions show when sometimes he should just hold it back and let the emotions go behind closed doors.
I must quickly just interrupt here. I've got some breaking news, guys. We've got Sunrisers Hyderabad have actually won the toss and elected to bowl. So Dave Warner started on the front foot. We've also got information to say that Warner, obviously Bairstow, Nubby and Rashid are the overseas players for SRH, and Cummins, as expected, I'll just confirm the other player. We've got Cummins and Russell, Morgan and Shakib are for KKR. So, in fact, Russell has got a berth today with Cummins, Morgan and Shakib. So that's the makeup of the actual overseas players. But most importantly, Sunrise Hyderabad have actually elected to bowl. So they're looking at coming home with a wet sail, aren't they? Which I kind of predicted, to be honest. What's your thoughts on that, Brad?
I'll just keep myself off mute there. I think that's a real good move, because I think last year with Sunil Narayan, they need that extra batter in their batting lineup. They need a little bit of stability in the top order. I think Shakib might come in at 3 or 4, but also having Narayan jumping in and out with different batting positions last year also troubled the other batsmen in that top order, because they weren't given a role that they could have continually throughout the whole year. Now, if we look at a player that they had a couple of years ago, Surya Kumar Yadav, who I was very impressed with while I was out Kolkata Knight Riders, he was never given a stable position in that team. And that's why he had inconsistent performances. He was put in out number 4 every now and then he was put down the lower order because he could do that role. But now that he's out Mumbai Indians, he's excelled because he's been given that role out number 3. And we've seen the best of him. Now, this move, having Shakib in there, is going to give them better balance, but also better stability with players knowing their exact roles. So, look, they're looking a little stronger with this lineup that they've got right now.
Absolutely. Now, the teams, the full selection. Dinesh, do you have the teams in front of you? Because I have. Have you got the teams?
No, just give me a moment. I'm allowed to check it once.
Okay. I'll begin with the Kolkata Knight Riders full outfit. As expected, Shubman Gill and Tripathi are opening, with Nitesh Rana looking like he's at number 3, Morgan 4, Dinesh Karthik coming off commentary into the team, of course, as keeper, Andre Russell. It's interesting to come off commentary to play. It's a bit of an unusual twist. Andre Russell, Shakib at number 7, obviously Pat Cummins after having bought his 9.5 million house, and Bronte is well settled. Then we have Kumar, of course, Bhuvi's there, and then we have Sandeep Sharma and Natarajan rounding that 11 off. That's in fact Sunrisers Hyderabad's team, a very strong balanced side. Dinesh, have you got the Kolkata Knight Rider team, please?
Yeah, actually they've actually selected their 4 overseas players as per their expectation. I think that's a very good sign to see Shakib Al Hasan inside the playing 11. And benching someone like a Sunil Narayan to have Shakib Al Hasan is actually putting a strong message that they want to add strength, add depth to their batting, because we have seen what Shakib Al Hasan is capable of in the last concluded World Cup. So Shakib Al Hasan is more than a bowler. He's actually a genuine all-rounder where you can actually expect him to add depth to the batting. So it's a good call that Sunil Narayan has not been selected in the cost of Shakib Al Hasan. So that puts up a strong message that they're actually adding depth to their batting. So hopefully it's a very good sign. They've actually had 2+2 overseas options, 2 batsmen, 2 batting overseas players and 2 bowling overseas players, out of which 2 are actually all-rounders, Shakib Al Hasan and Andrew Russell. So their batting depth is actually so good that they can chase any target, and they're actually going to score big in tonight's game. That's what I have an urge to say here, or that's what my instinct says here. So Shakib Al Hasan is just going to contribute his 200%, that's 100% with his bowling and 100% with his batting. So fingers crossed on how he's actually going to perform. So KKR is actually a very balanced side in this game. given they've actually filled all the holes here. They've got a good top order. They've got some good openers in the form of Shubman Gill and the Tripathi. We know that Eoin Morgan is actually someone who can actually cement the middle order, who can actually keep the middle order going. And when you have someone like Russell and the Shakib Hasan down the order, you also have the liberty to take some time to build the innings, because Russell is just going to come back and come back with all guns blazing. So it's a very balanced side. That's what I see KKR as, and hopefully they're just going to give their 100% in tonight's game. It's going to be a nail-biting contest. That's what I see today's game as.
Thanks, Dinesh. I did make a mistake. I've actually threw Kumar and Natarajan alongside, which was remiss of me. That came up in the list by accident. But well, let's look at the Sunrisers Hyderabad team. In fact, Nikhil, I'll get you to go through it. Your prediction of Ridham Saha actually opening looks like it's come off.
Yeah, that's what they've gone with. That's interesting, which means Johnny Bairstow may bat at number 3, I'm guessing, or maybe number 4. Manish Pandey at 3. I don't know which way they're going to go. What's really interesting for me is looking at both teams is the fact that they've gone in with the extra spinner. I would have thought that they would have gone with that extra fast bowler, considering when we saw that game in Chennai, the first one, it was actually the fast bowlers that did the trick for both the teams. So let's look at Sunrisers Hyderabad. They had a foreign all-rounder option in Jason Holder and a Mohammad Nabi. One a fast bowling all-rounder, the other a spinning all-rounder. They've gone with a spinning all-rounder in Mohammad Nabi and not Jason Holder. So that's very interesting. I would have thought that they would have gone the other way, but it's I beg your pardon, but both teams have done that. So clearly this particular strip is telling them something else from the strip that may have been used in the last game, because the other team has also gone in with an extra spinner in Harbhajan Singh, whereas they could have gone with an Indian fast bowler. They had a couple of options there in fast bowler for KKR. You had the Nagar Koti, Shivam Mavi. So they could have gone with that fast bowler, but they've gone with Harbhajan Singh, even when they have someone like a Varun Chakravarti playing for them, a regular spinner, and then you've got an extra all-rounder that comes in Shakibul Hasan. So both teams have gone in with that all-rounder of a spinning all-rounder or a fast-bowling all-rounder. That's very interesting. The second bit, Sunil Narine not playing. Now, I would have thought that he would have been the automatic selection, but I guess Brad made that point right at the start of the program, and I think that's the key and the main reason why they haven't gone with someone like a Sunil Narine. It could be that dip in form ever since his action came into questioning. We haven't seen the same Sunil Narine. So maybe that's why they've gone with someone like a Shakib, who we remember in that 2019 World Cup was absolutely Don Bradman-esque, if I could say, in terms of batting, and then even with his bowling. So he was outstanding. I guess keeping that form in mind and also the dip in form in Sunil Narine, that's what they've gone with. So interesting selection. Kane Williamson, I feel for him. They started last season with him on the bench. He had to come off the bench to really show them what he can contribute. And yet, as the new season starts, he doesn't find a place. But I guess, as I've been on the fact that they have an embarrassment of riches, Sunrisers Hyderabad.
Can you imagine a tournament where Steve Smith and Williamson can't make the cut? It's intriguing. Who would have ever thought that? You would never have thought that at all. Now, Brad's smiling from ear to ear. I mean, are you seeing something that we're not seeing? I would need to hear why you're smiling.
No, I'm just enjoying the commentary there from both Dinesh and Nikhil. But look, I think both teams have made interesting moves, especially Sunrisers Hyderabad. So basically what Sunrisers Hyderabad have told me is that with the selections is... They don't know what the wicket's going to do, so they've got Vijay Shankar there to bowl a few of his slower medium pace, and he'll probably bowl a lot of cutters there, be utilised. So they've got a lot of bowling options there, Mohammad Nabi as well, obviously. But they're going to interchange Mohammad Nabi and Jason Holder probably in that all-round position in that middle order. So I can't see... Kane Williamson playing at least the first 4 games. The big interesting thing for me to watch tonight will be Johnny Bairstow batting out 4. Can he adapt in that position? Because he likes the power play overs. He likes the ball coming on. I think they should have probably risked him opening the batting and just given Saha a role in the middle order, because Bairstow just gets you off to a good start, and I just think that could be a waste of an option there for Sunrisers Hyderabad tonight.
Well, it's very much like Stokes and Butler for Rajasthan Royals, isn't it? Quite frankly, it's the same idea. I totally agree. I'm not at all convinced why Saha's opening. I know Nikhil talked about it earlier, but I'm not convinced at all. I think they've made a mistake there. Now, on the basis of these teams, obviously it's on the Chennai pitch. We're expecting spin, as you would always do on those pitches, despite it being this format. I'm going to take an early call on who's going to win this match. Now, Brad, you haven't seen my crystal ball. I've got a crystal ball. It also goes as a chocolate milkshake. But it's my crystal ball for the sake of the day. My crystal ball's telling me KKR. That's my crystal ball. What's your crystal ball telling you, Brad?
My crystal ball's telling me that KKR. I've got a lot of heart for KKR. Playing for them, I can't really vote against them, even when I think they're going to lose as well.
Nikhil, I know you haven't got a crystal ball, but you've got the whole of Ahmedabad behind you, and in terms of the views, what's your take?
I'm going to look at the stars. You can see the sky behind. So let me see where the stars are aligning. And looking at the alignment of the stars,
here we go.
I can tell you, I'm going with Hyderabad. I'm being the contrarian because you two have picked Kolkata. Also because I believe Hyderabad are chasing, isn't it? They'll be chasing the target. So I think that's been a massive advantage in T20 cricket. We've seen across the globe, whether it's in UAE, whether it's the PSL in Pakistan, whether it's the IPL in India. So if they're chasing, I'm going with Hyderabad on this one. And then good luck to everyone trying to face Rashid Khan and trying to figure out his googly or his leg break. Brad, he even tricked Brad. Yeah, Brad, I don't know if you remember, you were picking the googly and you found this during a broadcast that every time he holds the ball like that, that's going to be the leg spin, and every time he holds it like this is going to be googly. You know what he did? I'm sure he saw that, and then he started bowling the googlies with the ball being held like that. So clearly he saw that broadcast, and he evolved after that, Rashid Khan. So good luck to the batsman trying to figure him out.
Now, okay, we've got two in the KKR corner. We've got one in the Sunrisers Hyderabad. Where do you sit, Dinesh? You're obviously a Tamil Nadu fellow, but where do you sit? Who's going to win?
Now, I support SRH here because of the strong Indian bowling lineup that they have actually in the likes of Natarajan or Bhuvneshwar Kumar. And never forget what Rashid Khan can actually bring into the game. So it's going to be a slow pitch. That's what we had seen Chennai as. Chennai is actually typically a slower pitch. But never forget that this match can actually give you wonders and surprises and shocks because the last 2 days, what we had witnessed, I'm going to give you some of the facts. Yuzvendra Chahal, 4 overs, 41 runs. Ravichandran Ashwin, 4 overs, 47 runs. Moeen Ali, 3 overs, 33 runs. And Ravi Jadeja, 2 overs, 16 runs. So this gives you a story that the spinners are actually going for plenty in the last couple of days. And who had been performing well, I'll just tell you the names. Avesh Khan, who is actually a fast bowler, and Harshal Patel, who is actually a fast bowler. So I'm not meaning that spinners will not be performing well, but what I'm trying to say is these two bowlers, Avesh and Harshal, they have been actually varying their paces once in a while. So the bowlers who were actually varying their paces, I mean the fast bowlers who were actually varying their paces were successful in the last couple of days, and the spinners who were actually varying their pace, that is when they were bowling a bit quicker, be it Kunal Pandya, 4 overs, 25 runs, or be it Washington Sundar, 1 over, 7 runs, they were actually going above 90 kilometers per hour. So fast bowler varying the pace to a lesser speed, a spinner who is actually going to bowl a quicker speed are going to be the trick in today's game. That's what I believe.
Brad,
Well,
he's
basically telling
dissing the spin bowlers. You're a member of the spin bowling club, so you got to stand up for all the spinners.
Exactly.
No, I think the spinners will do all right down there at Chennai. I think both teams have summed up the wicket and think that it's going to spin. But look, as spinners, you've got to adapt very quickly. The only thing that I worry about in bowling down there at Chennai and bowling second is the dew factor. holding the ball. And we saw that in Mumbai last night. We saw Moeen Ali bowl that full toss. And sometimes gripping the ball in, it just slips out. I remember playing out Kolkata one year for Rajasthan Royals, and I was bowling to Callis, Jarks Callis, and I couldn't put anything on the ball. It was so wet, so slippery. The sweat was coming down my hands and onto the ball as I was letting it go. And there was times there blow my action up, and I was just virtually putting the ball there like donkey drops. And yeah, Jark Callis was enjoying it, hitting me over cover. But sometimes the conditions can get that bad, and that's where you should wear long sleeves, a little sweatband out the bottom of your hand, so that you're trying to catch all that sweat before it drips or drains down as your arm comes over. So that's something that you've got to look out as a spin bowler over here in India.
Actually, you're cutting out there, Brad. Did you say sandpaper in that conversation? I'm not sure.
That's why Steve Smith's not captain of Delhi Capitals, mate. let's scratch that right there and then.
Oh, that's a statement. That'll get out.
No. There's a little bit of humour there. No, but when you're talking about, quickly talked about Steve Smith not playing. Kane Williamson's got a better record out T20 cricket. He controls the innings through those middle overs, and that's why I'm surprised that they've got Bairstow batting there rather than Kane Williamson, who's done that job. So if Bairstow's going to play, he's got to open the batting. He can't be at number 4 when you've got a prize possession there in Kane Williamson, who does that job well. If you look at Steve Smith's record at Rajasthan, it wasn't that flash on strike rate, and that's why Delhi Capitals didn't go with him. They can't have Ajinkya Rahane and Steve Smith going in out 3 and 4 just because of both of their slow strike rates. You can only afford to have one of those type of players.
I actually think that's the reason. I actually think that's why SRH won't actually win. I think that's extremely important. If they don't put Bairstow in as opener, they've lost it. I think there's something extremely significant about the start of this innings for both teams. I think you've summed up one of the failings in their batting order. If they do stick to it, we haven't yet seen them walk out, so we're not sure whether they will stick to it religiously. All right, guys, we have had a fantastic session. We've got some 6-7 minutes before the game starts. We've summed up our both Brad and I are on the same page. Even though we are from New South Wales and Western Australia, we're on the same page here. Nikhil is the contrarian, as he says. And Dinesh, I'm disappointed you're not a Chennai Super Kings fan, but we'll work on that. We'll work out why you're not. Okay. So, and we can thank you all. It's been a wonderful discussion. I mean, clearly, I'm the most attractive. You have to agree. Do you like my sighting? I think I'm the most. I don't want to brag, but I think I'm the most attractive. But my followers tell me that anyway. All my mother and my friends always tell me that. All right, guys. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. It's been fantastic having you on, Brad. Your backdrop always. I love it. Nikhil, you're an absolute doyen of information. Incredible man. Dinesh, you screwed up very nicely. You've done a great job for the Bharat Army. Go the Bharat Army. We're glad to have you on deck for Extra Time. Extra Time is the important collaboration between Extra Time and Bharat Army. Worldwide effect stands strong. All right, guys. Thanks for your time, all 4 of you.
So it was great. It was great being with Dinesh, Brad, and Bragg.
Yeah, nice time with you all 4. I enjoyed it.
And Dinesh, to everyone out there in the Bharat Army, thanks very much for your support too, because you give such good atmosphere out in the ground, and you make a huge difference, because if it wasn't for the supporters, the game wouldn't be the same. So good work to you and your supporters. Nikhil, keep up your good job with your journalism. And Norman, good to see you finally, front page and centre. You're doing a great job too, mate. So you guys keep it going.
Thanks, guys. All right, guys. Well, stay tuned. We've got some 50-odd matches to go. Heaps of time. We'll get you all back as soon as possible. This is Norman Kosnick from Extra Time signing off.
See ya.
See you guys.
See you guys.